Welcome to the expected Buffalo post-game show number 2, second one. Now that we're back home and not on crazy West Coast times, maybe we're gonna get these going here. Had fun last time; people seem to like it, so we'll keep flushing these out. But before I get into the game, of course, first we start with our sponsors. One Pie Pizza, onepie.pizza.com, 2185 Clinton Street, open daily from 9 to 8. And then Hiller and Comerford, HillerComerford.com, 1-866-HILLER Law for your local personal and injury disability go-to. 4 in a row, number 4. It didn't look great out of the gate. It was a little sketchy, no doubt in that one, but the Sabres pull out a 5-3 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. So we're going to get into a few things here over the next little bit. We'll talk about that bad start. There's a couple players I want to touch on. The goaltending, we did have some injuries in this game. And then we'll, of course, take a look to Saturday's game and whatever else we get to as I kind of ramble on here. I know it was a thing people noticed last time. I do have my Victory Baileys, of course, a little cinnamon dripped in there. So we're having a good time here at 10:43 on a Thursday night, a week away from Christmas. Let's get into this game. Well, let's dive in here. So, like I said, a 5-3 victory. It didn't look great out of the gate, of course. That first period was rough. And the broadcast made it known. The intermission crew made it known. It didn't start great. And there's just a few ways you could look at it. I sit here and think about teams that it's not just Sabres, obviously. It's almost every team. That first home game back after a long road trip, either one of two things happen. You look sluggish throughout the entire game, or you start slow for a period and a half, and then we got that one tonight. That start slow for a period and a half. Now, I understand the flip side argument is this maybe is a little bit of a different situation because your general manager was just fired on Monday. You have a new general manager in here. A lot of talk around the team, locally, nationally. It's a nationally televised game on ESPN Plus. So you would hope and think that the team would have came out with a little bit of jump. They certainly did not. They had their doors blown off for sure in the first period of that game. But credit to them. They got out of that mess of a period, giving up nearly 2 goals. Expect 2 expected goals against in all situations. That period being shot attempts 26-6. Not at all what you want to see, but you get out 1-1, you regroup, and now you start to, build upon the game as you go. They got down and they 2-1, and it looked bleak still, and you pop those 2 goals late in the third or in the second, and then I think your third period was great. The way they played in the third period was good. Not giving up that 1 goal is, made it interesting. They always do that. But overall, I think to be perfectly honest, the last 30 minutes, I think I was thoroughly impressed with the way they played. Took them a little bit of time to get going, but once they got going, they looked like the better team against a team that they're chasing that currently sits in a wild card spot right now in the Eastern Conference. That's a nice win to keep going 4 in a row. You have a couple more games coming up here against teams that you're chasing. You're going to need them. So we'll get into that. But yeah, I think there was more to like tonight than there was to dislike. I don't think we need to really hash on negatives here by any means. So that's not really what I'm going to do. I'm going to touch on a few guys that I thought played really well, and I'm excited about moving forward. And try to keep it in a positive mood here. So let's start with the first guy that I have on my list as we get into the players that I think stood out to me tonight. And that is Josh Norris. So Norris only played, I think what they said, his 11th or 12th game or maybe even 10th game. I don't know, something like that for the Sabres. And when Benson got that puck to him for the 4th goal, ended up being the game-winning goal, instant confidence he was burying that. Just a lone goal scorer, finisher, that's going in the net. And there's very few players in this team that you have that confidence with. But it's interesting to me that immediately he got it and I thought goal. And it maybe surprised me a little bit that I got there so fast with him, but he has looked really good. Really, really good. And the thing is, of course, is if he could stay on the ice, knock on wood, he's been great for them. He has really solidified their top two centers now that Thompson is playing back in the middle again. You can, first line, second line, whatever. Really a great job. I excited about him. As stay on the ice, please. And I think the Sabres might have themselves a player there. And sticking with that line, Oslin, another good game. And that is looking like an excellent fit. Oslin, Tuck, and Norris. I'll look at their numbers tomorrow when some of the sites update, but they got to be one of the best lines in the league going right now. The numbers have to be off the charts impressive, not only from the on ice, expected goals for, against, I think the actual scoring too has got to be up there. And it's good to have that depth, and that's kind of what they've been chasing now for a long time, to have a team that you don't just rely on Tage's line to be a scoring group for you. Now you have that second line with Norris healthy and Oslin doing what he's doing, and then Tuck, there's still some moments of like, give me a little bit more, I'm not gonna lie, but overall, there's some pretty good play we're still getting out of there. Tuck had two great shot blocks at the end. Full credit to him. Those are really nice plays. That's coming off of, I thought, a really bad sequence on that third goal against that he was part of. I really didn't like Krebs or Tuck in that sequence, but stuck with it. Made those big plays for his team when he needed to late in the game and helped them secure a victory. So that line overall, very good. Benson and Doan, the two dogs on this team, just night in, night out. It's a rarity that you're going to have an issue with those two players. I think they give you their all. And really, I think those are the type of players that Kekalainen is talking about, that they, both of them in different ways, have their unique talents and they have that skill, but it's the effort. It's the grind. It's the never stopping, having the motor always going, not being the biggest guys on the ice, but you rarely lose a battle. Doan is just always around the puck. He's always fighting. He seems like the puck just finds him. And, he continues to look really good. Benson, as I said already, made a great play on that power play goal. Stick check, picks his head up, perfect saucer pass right on the stick to Norris, and lets him make that play to basically seal the game away. And, he had another assist in the night. He had a couple opportunities too. And, of course, the finishing, it said, still does have to improve. He's 20 years old, so there's some room for that. But I got to get a little bit better there. He had some opportunities to score, threw it off the post, I think twice in a row at one sequence. He had a couple times he came down for a shot and just really never threatens, it feels like, with a shot. So an area of improvement, but you have everywhere else in his game, really. He plays both special team units. He can be relied on at both ends of the ice and even pitch in offensively to a high level. Two really nice players there. And then the last guy I wanted to call out is Tage. He got kicked around a little bit, and, rightfully so. I'm not going to say what Tortorella said during the first intermission was wrong by any means. Kicked around a little bit on the broadcast. I mean, he doesn't know that, but we do. But he came up when it mattered. He had that big goal to make it 2-2, finish that playoff, and I thought from there on he was more involved in the game. I think he created a few opportunities offensively. Give a credit to him too on that power play goal. He didn't give up on that puck. It bobbled in his feet, but he fought for it. Maybe earlier in the season, we see him give up on there and not put that much effort in. He fought for that puck. He battled. He made the mistake of losing it. But he definitely battled and fought for it, and then allowed Benson to come in for support and make the play he made. And, all three players in that sequence, great job by all of them, in full marks, to those players. And then I want to get to Alex Lyon too. So it's not, at the end of the night, the numbers aren't going to look great. I think he's under a 900 save percentage for the night. I think he's literally break even on goals, at least the natural stat tricks number and goals saved above expected. I think they were at a 3, and he let in a 3. That third goal, you're probably going to want to stop there. That's not great. But what can't be overlooked is the full view of a 60-minute game. This game is not a 5-3 victory if he doesn't play as well as he did in the first period. Like I said, expected goals, the Flyers put up a 2, pretty much, a 1.88 in all situations. They were peppering him around the net. They were all over him. There were some grade A opportunities. And he battled. And I mean, we heard some of the, for you to listen on ESPN, the audio picked out some of his feistiness. He got ran into and immediately came back, and him and the ref went back from a few liners. And that's what you want to see. You want to see a guy who will communicate, a guy who will fight in the net. And sometimes you don't often see that from Sabres goalies in the past. And there's some, that's the thing I liked about Lyon when they signed him. There's that, the best way to put it I think of is that give a shit in his game. And it's not always going to be the best. He's not going to have the best nights. He's not the best goaltender in the league or even one of the best goalies in the league. Realistically, he's a decent backup on a good team. But he'll fight for you. He'll go to war every night. He'll do the best he can. He'll give you his effort. It's not maybe going to look the cleanest. What I kind of call him is a puck stopper. He stops pucks. Gets in front of him how he has to and just battles. And that's what he did in the first period. Gave his team an opportunity to find their legs. They did so, and they come out on top, even with, with one or arguably 2 goals that maybe you'd like him to save. So Lyon gets credit, I think, there. That's his 4th game in a row he's played now, 5th game maybe. You would assume he's going to keep rolling. We'll see if they go back to him on Saturday or if they want to get him in. I mean, they go Saturday. Well, they have Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. So I would anticipate he probably plays Saturday, and then depending how it goes with Ellis, Luke in most likely Sunday in New Jersey, or they flip-flop. We'll see. We'll see how they want to do that. But I'm sure he'll play one of these 2 games the coming weekend and look to keep the streak alive there. All right. Last thing we're going to close on here is the unfortunate news of the evening coming out of this. So Connor Timmins, broken leg. Not great. He's obviously going to miss some time. So that brings Jacob Bryson back into the picture. And it's really unfortunate for this team to essentially they're going to go a hefty part of this season without seeing their full defense group healthy for more than a handful of games. Kesselring was out for a while, and then now Timmins is going to be out. Dahlin was away. I think Power missed 1 game. So they never really had the opportunity to see this defense at full strength to go. And it's going to be a little bit now before they do get the opportunity again. But the good news is Bryson stepped in, I think, pretty well for Timmins or for Kesselring when he was out. So I don't really have much concern putting him back in there. Now where the concern maybe comes into place is putting him with Byram. I don't know how great that's going to go, but I would like to keep Kesselring and Power together. I think, that works. Tonight wasn't their best night from a numbers perspective. But I want to build on that pair. I want to give them more minutes, see how that goes. So, they're going to have to figure out what they want to do there on their blue line. That probably means Metz is going to stick around for a little bit. I was wondering if he would go back before the holiday roster freeze hits at 11:59 p.m. tomorrow. I was wondering if he was going to go back. Obviously, now he's not going to, with Timmins being out for a little bit. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Timmins is, he's had his ups and downs at 5-on-5, but he's a strong penalty killer for them. That's really where they're going to miss him. That's going to be unfortunate. And then the other one is Tyson Kozak. He left today's game early. It's unfortunate for him. I think that's a guy who's getting to a point where he's starting to be injured too much. It just seems like he can't stack it together. And we'll see how they feel organizationally about that. But we'll find out more about his injury and how long he's going to be out. You have Dunn that's still around. He can step back in. I think Lindy Ruff said the other day that Zucker's looking at after Christmas, so it's another week. There's 3 games before they take a break for Christmas. Home against Islanders, at New Jersey, and then at Ottawa before they host the Bruins on the 27th, which is next Saturday. So, 4 in a row. Don't remember the last time we said they've won 4 games in a row. I think it's been a while. Maybe I should look it up before we started here, but it's been a little bit. Most of these games, I think you come out of it saying they've played good enough. They've been good. Really, for me, I think the spot to end it is where I've been impressed with them is all 4 of these games that they've won. They've been close, and they've had to hold leads in the third period, and I think they've been great in all of them. I really was never scared about the Flyers tonight. Seattle, I never felt worried. The games blend together. I mean, it was a little bit hectic in the Oilers game. McDavid was doing his thing, so that maybe wasn't the best one. And then Vancouver, I can't really remember it. It's it's 12:30 at night on a weekday, so that it blurs. But if I remember correctly, I don't think they were that bad that game either, holding that lead in the third period. So that's good. That's the sign of a mature team. That's the sign of a team that is learning how to win games, is knowing how to shut things down in the third period when you have the lead. Now, there's some better plays need to be made still. Understanding situationally, and I think that's what happened with that third goal is you're up 2 goals. Just doesn't got to be pretty. Puck just has to get out. If it's an icing, it is what it is. Flip it out, get it out. You don't need possession. You don't need to skate it out. So there's some areas to work on there, but overall, I've been impressed by the way they've played games third period when holding a lead. Okay, so that is it for me tonight. I'm going to go ahead and finish my drink here and try to get some sleep and not be up till 1 a.m. like I've been all week with all the craziness going on. So thanks for listening. Hope everybody enjoyed the game tonight, and they are back in action on Saturday, and we'll talk to you then. See ya.